There are many factors and challenges behind any success. To find the success factors and challenges in harnessing people power, we will invite some of the great successful personalities for the CxO panel. Now we call upon Ms. Sadhana Somasekhar, Director, Future Focus Infotech. Ms. Sadhana has over 23 years of experience in IT and ITES industry. She has been associated with many professional bodies like NASSCOM. She received the Best Woman Entrepreneur Across Sectors award from Dun & Bradstreet.
We welcome Mrs. Saichitra, Chief Portal and Mobile Officer, Matrimony.com, with over 14 years of experience in open source platforms, R&D of open source engines, tools and scalability solutions. She heads the technology function of Matrimony Division.
We welcome Mr. N. Subramanian, Director, Vibrant Technologies and Training Consulting Private Limited. Mr. N. Subramanian, properly known as Vibrant Subbu, has over 20 plus years of experience spanning across various industries from pharma, retail, healthcare, and training consultancy. Unleash the Apothecary is an e-book written by him in 2013. The content of the book aims to help in unleashing the apothecary living inside each one of us.
We welcome Mr. KRSR Krishna, VP Petrofac. Mr. Krishna is well known to the PMI community. He's been contributing in PMI EMC forums. He's been the speaker for many of our conferences. We welcome you all to join the panel. Mr. Krishna will facilitate the event as a moderator.
Thank you. Good morning turned out to be now good afternoon. Let's energize ourselves. Good afternoon, please. Good afternoon. Thank you so much. It's very difficult now, having listened to the first few speakers and especially with Krishna, I think this is fantastic. It's very, very difficult to, I think, match that standards. But however, we'll try. The next course is going to be a lunch. So that's more interesting anyway. So whatever we do, I think with the lighter hearts we can take it. But just to start with, we were just listening to the first few people. I think especially when Julia is here, she has gone. I think better she has gone. Yeah. We were always talking about the countrymen, what we have in India, the kind of corruption, what we are doing, the kind of projects, how they are getting delayed. All these things we are talking. And few people have said that we are not so good at those things. But after listening to her, we would all appreciate it, certainly. Equally corrupted are the Europeans and more the US people. I hope all our Indians will hear this. It's no doubt in that actually. So that is how the world is really. So people are people. But the extent, how much, what is the magnitude of that kind of irregularity is the question now. So other countries may be top 10%, 15%. And that is reserved for them. We are lucky. We are top to bottom almost. We treat everybody alike really. So that kind of integrity in diversity, everything is there with us. So having said this, we are not belittling anybody. This is the world. People are people always. See, all these functions, all these programs will go on PPTs, PowerPoint presentations. Then that's turned out to be the people, process and technology. But the end point after listening to Kitty sir, it is people and people together. There's nothing else. I think without people, there is nothing else in the world. We should be together and make things more and more successful. Of course, this the concept here is harnessing the people and their strengths. That's very, very important. So, without people, there is nothing else in the world. Let's listen to the other successful people along with us. Everybody is successful in a way or other. But for today, they said you four be here. As this minute, you are successful. But everybody will have a time for his success or her success. That's always there. Nobody is unsuccessful all the time. Everybody is successful at least one point in time. I'm sure this room is full of successful people. There's no doubt. Let's take viewpoints from our colleagues. Sir.
Good afternoon. from the morning, the speakers and the last speaker, previous speaker, Kitty sir, everyone talking about, people. And any organization or any project, you need people for success or even to fail also, you need people. Right? So if you see in any organization or in any project, the main criteria is decision making. How you make decisions. And in any decision, there are 4 parameters you have to look. That is delivery, governance, and creativity, and a synthesizer. We call it as DGCS. Delivery is, on time. Even when we spoke in the morning, we had a little chat, a pre-preparation for the panel discussion we had with our team, and Mr. Krishna was telling, every project is delayed and every project is overruns. So, delivery is very important, on time and all other these things. And then, adhering to the statutory norms and as well as the land of law, governance is very, very important. And creativity should be there. That's why, you stand above your competitors or whatever, or you stand yourself in the market. And to do all these things, you need to have a synthesizer who is a people-oriented man, who takes care or who cares only about people. Any decision, any organization or any project team is taking, if it is going to affect my people, a delivery man will see only, numbers. He talks only about numbers, he thinks only about numbers, he delivers only on numbers. Right? And the governance man, he won't bend. The Chalta will never happen to him. Right? And then the creative person, he don't bother about whether your governance is or your statutory norms is permitting or whatever it is. He wants his whatever creativity or whatever this thing, his ideas and all those things. So he thinks on that. The people person, synthesizer, he thinks any decision if you take, how it will benefit my people, its customer as well as the people working on the project. So these 4 things, if we are as a team, bring it to the decision-making table. Any CEO, even during Mr. Shekhar's this thing, he just told that, it's people, and the CEO's job is only communicating. But this is when he takes decision, if he has these 4 people around him, right? Because the behavioral patterns of the person will relate to his expertise, and he will be liking to work on that kind of atmosphere or that kind of role he wants to take. But here what is happening is most of the time, we get a job or we get a role and we try to do it. We may not match with that, or our behavioral pattern may not match with that role or what it requires. That's why the conflict of interest happening inside ourselves. And then it reflects with others or with the team or whatever it is. So any decision making or any CEO or any leader, you can't have all the 4. Or if you have D, you are great, or if you have S, you are great. It's nothing like that. It's all related with the behavioral patterns. Some may be dominant. Maybe for some person D may be dominant, or some person maybe C may be dominant. But if a collective decision, if we can able with identify all these quality people and bring them onto the boardroom and take a decision and then spread it to the down the line, I think the projects, as Krishna said, will not get delayed or whatever it is. This was my experience whenever I did a project in my previous assignments. Thank you.
People married in short, that's what we do. And so I'll just take cues from whatever Subbu was just mentioning. See, we being an e-com category player, for us, we are talking about success and challenges in terms of people harnessing the people power. That's the whole discussion that we are into here. So I think it depends like whether we see it as a challenge or an opportunity. Both sides of the coin. Yes, we need to look at as a leader which one to leverage. For us in our domain, especially product marketing and technology, if you look at, 3 important points we look at is, one is the speed. Being an online app or a portal company, it becomes very critical for us to go with speed. While we have processes, the agile and all the stuff that we follow, it is always as of yesterday, especially when there is a requirement from marketing. Because there will be some heating up competition, or there could be some seasonal effect, and generally we would have to run on a war footing basis, and speed becomes very, very critical for us. While all the processes are there, we have to ensure that these processes and the people who are adhering to the processes are actually enabling the speed, and as an organization we are able to perform, or rather launch whatever we are supposed to launch. The second important challenge or an opportunity that we see is ours is a very heterogeneous kind of crowd. If you look at product, especially in the e-com world, you might be seeing lots of startups. Even the CEOs are at 22, 23 years, 24 years. It's a very, very young crowd. Even the product managers, an average age group, if you look at in my team, which is almost 23 or 24. So the technology side, you will be having a VP technology, a project manager who would actually have 15 years to 20 years of experience. On one hand, you will be having a product manager who is coming and giving you requirements or asking you questions on why this is taking so much of time, who is just half of your experience, or rather like who's just as old as your age of years of experience. So a 22-year-old guy is, for instance, a mobile product manager in my team who's actually designing the world-class product which is used by millions of users now. So the second important challenge that we see, or rather an opportunity, is like, while there is going to be a trade-off in how this Gen Z thinks as compared to your typical technology guys or project managers or whatever, it's always good to see how to harness or how to leverage the strengths that this Gen Z comes up with. For example, they are completely geeky. What they know as an app world is something which I also find it very difficult being a technology person. So if we are able to take the leverage out of these people in terms of what they are good at, and then convert the challenge into an opportunity, like how Subbu was telling, in terms of a proper source of communication, mode of communication, I'm sure that solves the problem. That's how we run our business every day. The third important is, I think, cross-functional. Ours is a very cross-functional driven organization. We have so many verticals. We run so many businesses. We have 200 odd outlets across the country and so many branches. Some 5,000 people are working in this particular domain. So what happens for us is it's a very heterogeneous and a cross-functional heavy system, where for marketing we have to have a separate understanding, for product we have to have a separate understanding. So it becomes very difficult for us beyond a point to go and have one-sized solution or one solution fits all. So what we do is like, we try to ensure that we take the opportunity to tap the potential of all the cross-functional teams and who come from different parts of the country, and understand the demographics of users in that particular location. Say a tier 3, a tier 1, a tier 2, a vernacular versus an English audience. All of these for us is very, very different. While our end users are different, our customers are also people who are in our own organization. For example, technology, we serve people in the sales and all that, right? So we try to tap that potential and try to leverage that so that our challenge becomes an opportunity. So in short, speed and heterogeneous culture team, how to tap that potential, and how do we ensure that cross-functional teams work brilliantly well by having communication or other over communication. This is how we see the entire gamut of things.
So hello everybody. I think I'm going to take a little bit of an anecdote from what he just said about PMI having something to do with matrimony in many of the conferences. I think this whole discussion point, whether today or maybe previously, has to do with relationships. And I was not there. I was not lucky enough to be there for the earlier sessions. But I think you've been talking more about relationships and how you leverage that. And what is an older institution than marriage? So maybe consciously or unconsciously, they thought of what are the things that bring in relationships into people and have something to do with matrimony every time.
I think Krishna might be the right person to
well, I don't know. I don't know whether it was conscious or not. What I would like to communicate today, I may digress a little bit from the topic per se, but it's something which I want to leave behind, and I would like to tell you what I feel about it, because I cannot communicate anything that I do not believe myself in personally. I started my career in terms of, I was qualified in the paramedical line, and then I moved into IT. But it was realization that somewhere inside me, maybe I was not old enough that time, but it was there, that I was a people person. So it didn't matter what I did in what organization, as long as it had to do with people. That's just a little bit about what I do today. I'm a coach, I'm a CEO executive coach and a mentor. I was, like he said, 25 years heading business in my organization. But that was just a role. And like Mr. Murthy mentioned before, you go beyond the role at a certain point when you realize the why part in your life. So the message I want to leave with many of you out here is, if I were to ask everyone here, what is it that you do? Everyone, without exception, can easily spend some time telling us what they do. If we were to ask how you do it, even that a lot of you all can very, very lucidly communicate. But if I were to ask you, why do you get up every morning? Why do you do what you do by going to office, to an organization, or run your business or whatever? That question takes a lot of deep thinking, and I'm not talking about the superficial answers of having to meet, you're qualified, so you're in IT, or you have a family to look after, so you need to go to work. I'm telling you to look beyond that, because one thing that I have found in my organization, which is actually all about people, because we're in the people business, and every company is in the people business, but for us, our services and our so-called deliverables are all people-centric. In what I have realized is, it is that little part of why do we do what we do. The delay or the earliness of that answer that creates a stability within an organizational structure. And that organizational structure, it is what ripples into anything that the company does. Being on time, not on time, how popular you get, what brand recall you have, is all related to the why. So there are two whys. One is what the organization has to communicate, and the other is the why that you have to find out, why do I do this? What is my innate, my deep-rooted reason to do what I'm doing today? As leaders, there is only one role that a leader, whether he's at the CxO position, or a leader of a project team, or a self-leading individual, is to have a vision for yourself. A vision which can be believed in. It's a belief system. So either you communicate the belief system, the vision, in such a way that everybody in your organization can comprehend and understand it, till finally your belief, your vision becomes their belief and their vision. It's no longer yours. Then you have a community. What is a community? I mean, we human beings are all social animals. Social animals means we need to be like communities. And what creates communities? Common belief and common values. What creates a country? Common belief, common values. What is an organization? It is also supposed to be common beliefs and common values. Unfortunately, it's not like that. We come to work for a purpose. We are told what the mission and the vision statements are. The word vision statement means vision. You should be able to see it. No, it's just become a few letters on the board. It's something which you publish in your pamphlets. So you have people who come to work, who like to work with their team members when it's okay, but they're not engaged the way it has to be engaged. And that engagement can happen only when that so-called vision statement is owned by each individual as their own. When you believe that why the organization exists is synonymous with why you want to be there, then nothing else will stop you from being there and, delivering to what you want to do, because you're doing it because of yourself. And belief and trust creates some, belief and this common sense of values creates something called trust. And usually we gravitate to where there is trust. Trust allows you to explore. Trust allows you to take risks because you know there is nothing to fear. This is greatly lacking in our organization structures. Everything is finally about profit and loss and getting numbers out. This is a topic which is, in many of the conferences that I attend, nobody talks about it on the stage. They all talk about, this is our values, this is what we do for our people. But when you go down to it, every message, every decision that you make is what you're communicating. Every decision is your communication. And every communication is what you stand for. So if we can find within us organizations where we believe that they are walking their talk, that is where we need to be. If I were to ask you, if you were my friend and we knew each other and said, look, what should I change about myself for you to like me? Should I change the way I dress? Should I change the way I talk? What would you answer to your friend? Don't change anything. I want you to be you. That's the way I like you. But what do we do in organizations? We go out and conduct surveys. We ask customers what they like and we try to transform ourselves and our people to what somebody else wants us to be. Authenticity is lost. So if you can be authentic, if you can find your purpose and find an organization and find a team or a deliverable which resonates with what you do, if you can find an organization which communicates something that you can accept, then you have a community which is beyond the business. It becomes an institution. And we do have institutions like that. Why do you think that Harley Davidson, even if you don't own one, you wear a t-shirt saying Harley Davidson? Because you want to associate with it. You may not find somebody wearing some other brand like Ambassador or Fiat or something. You may not own it. It's a brand. It's what it stands for, how it relates to you. How many Apple computers do you find which are dirty and not? Because you're a proud owner. There's something that you associate with the brand. The brand has a value and the value statement has to resonate with you. So I'm not really talking about challenges. I'm just, indirectly connecting it to, unless you find your why as to why do you go to that organization, and unless the why of that organization resonates with you, we can talk till the cows come home, but we're not going to get that passion, which is finally what drives the entire business and the community as such.
Nice views from you all. I think before, of course, you said the world is changing towards numbers. I think it's 1:15 is the time given to us. Before he comes with a wonderful white sheet. It looks like white sheet, but it has numbers inside. Last 5 minutes. Before that, I think I have one observation. Whatever we have picked up from today's discussion, I had a chat with you also. Common observation. You can share your viewpoint on the particular point, and then leave another 5 minutes to audience to rag us. We are far away from ragging for quite some time. Yeah. Just this question is, of course, morning we were discussing about the projects, whether it is India or Europe or anywhere. We have the projects being run, and usually no project runs on time, and no project gets concluded within the budgets. There are projects with 400% overruns. These are all happening. So again, these are all coming back to people and people and people. We talk about it. So you can't change people. Processes are defined. Every process is available in the net. You can see repositories with wonderful text written there, how to run a project and all that. And tools are fantastic, everybody can access. But still, no project, usually, no, maybe a wrong statement, most of the projects will not be concluded in time within the budget. What should we change? The difference, what difference should we really make to make things happen in time within the given budgets? Usually you see, most of the people, most of the big clients, they make a project specification, they make a budget, they delay it for 4 or 5 years. And then release it, addition of lot of scope they add it, budget remains same. And then everything goes like that only. Somebody misses something in coding. So he gets the lowest order, so he takes the project, so he suffers. That is how it is happening really. What do you think we should change in your perspective, your viewpoint, that can make a real difference to understand where are we missing link?
See, again, it's communication only. See, any projects, there are so many people involved, from bottom of the pyramid to the top project manager or the CEO or whatever it is. The communication has to go down to till the bottom of the pyramid. The person who executes it, maybe bit by bit or brick by brick. The communication is not, according to my the communication is not going down till the last man of the company. For example, if you ask me, when I was with Vasanaiker hospital as a project director of projects. I used to first fix the inauguration date before we do the Bhumi Puja for the hospital. I even fixed the chief guest. I took his appointment and then we work from backwards. And when the project, when the date is fixed, and then we work towards the Bhumi Puja. From the day, every person, including the carpenter to the mason to the topmost person, the doctor in charge of that center, will be involved in that, and it will be very clearly communicated that this is what has to be done and this is the date we have to inaugurate. And when we inaugurate, we don't see, okay, Gragapravesam aanadukapram konjam micham irukano, dishti illa kediyadu. Hospital means hospital, and first day we will have 300 patients visiting our hospital. That's all. So everything should be till from the welcome desk to the registration counter to the operation theatre, everything should be done. That's how we take forward those days. That's what is not happening nowadays.
It should have, again, as I said, goal should be the view actually. It's not the
you fix the destination and then move forward. That's all.
And of course, just before coffee time, Karthik Ramurthy was sharing one of the wonderful points. He was just reminding us. Usually, many of the leaders, so-called managers, success always, I did it, I am responsible. But it doesn't get to the people who are actually working. Working level, see, everything, every bit, as you know, nobody has to say this actually. But just a reminder, it starts from a small helper onwards till the top management. There is a full loop to get anything, any small project or big project, any small work breakdown, whatever you do, that's done by so many people. But success is always taken by the senior person. That should go away from all of us really. That's the message for this communication. When you said also, even not only just communication, even appreciation, everything should go down to the person actually who is generating. That is, I think, to some extent it is missing. I hope we all take it positively and then ensure.
As he rightly said, melting the hierarchy.
Again, of course, all these things are together.
Melt the hierarchy.
Now, I wanted to say that I have said it, but of course, you linked it to him. It's nice, really. Anyway, it's all. ABCDs are only 26 actually. Whatever you do, within 26 you have to do it actually. Thank you, sir, for reminding. Karthik, thanks for reminding that nice point. Yeah, please, your viewpoint on what difference should we make to make projects in time within the budgets.
Okay, first 2 points I want to take. Before that, the first precursor is the timeline should be fixed. Most of the times in online companies like us, the timeline itself keeps moving. It will become a moving target because that's one off track. But I just want to take a cue from what Subbu just said. Communication, I think that's the first point. We either communicate too much that it becomes more of a micromanagement, that the guy who is working in decides, okay, let my boss handle this. This is too much of work for me, because anyway he's line by line reviewing it, let him only do it. So that is either one problem, or the other problem is like we become very 30,000 feet. We think that just with one line of brief, the person is going to create a magic and we leave it there. Suddenly, one day before the project timeline, we figure out nothing has moved. So I think communication is one key. The second thing which I see is very important, at least in organizations like us, which I'm sure most of you would relate, is the processes need to be more dynamic. Because now the way we operate, the platforms, even the coding standards, everything has changed. So we cannot stick to the old model and say, okay, fine, I will have all the brief freezed on day one, and this many man hours, this many man days I'm going to clock. While all of these are going to continue to exist, but I think we need to be little flexible in terms of how do we go about the communication approvals. Like for instance, we use tools like Slack for inter-team communications, and most of our approvals we don't rely on any ticketing or anything of that sort. We use predominantly WhatsApp and Slack for all of that, because that we find that is quite faster, and wherever you are, irrespective of whether you're in a meeting as a manager or a leader, you are not next to your team, you still keep the ball rolling, because there's nothing that's going to stop for you. So I think if these two are handled properly, I'm sure most of the projects would be ending up as per the timeline that we commit.
Thank you. Sadhana ji, your view please.
So I have again one general view and one more concise view focused on from a point of keeping things on timeline. It's again, which everyone here probably knows, it's a project management conference. You have a plan, build in enough flexibility into a plan which allows you to recast, because invariably we think that it's dyed in red and blood kind of thing, and you cannot. Be realistic. This is what I used to tell my teams, that very often we come back with project teams giving us what we want to hear rather than the real what the status is. So be realistic. Allow yourself the margin to be able to recast. That is more focused to what, because recasting and being real is what removes the frustration for the customer as well as for the internal client. You know, creating this ambiguity that we are going to do it by so and so date, not having a date. It's better to say that, look, I'm going to be late by two weeks or 2 months or whatever. But in a more philosophical sense is which I tend to go. I think the success of any project depends upon, one, the team that you have. And when you look at the team, I would say, look at them for attitude more than just skill. Because that is what will keep them together. And from a leadership point, if you can inspire them, if you can be inspiring enough, you may not know anything about the project. But if you can have that charisma which transmits to them what the meaning of that project means, and get their inputs and their buy-in where they own that project, I think a lot of the work gets done automatically. I've seen this in my business roles where it was only the initial concept which had to be actually communicated, and that is a leadership role. It is not an easy challenge. It's not an easy task to be able to communicate in such a way that you infect a whole audience. But once that is done, you can actually sit back because they will take the ball and run with it.
Great. Yeah. Before last minute passed on to question answer session, I just want to this one actually. PMI, of course, is like our matrimony, not the life alliances connected, but lot of networking. Fantastically, it's done. And first event when it's done, it's the innovation is the concept. Second was on the sustaining this innovation and then taking it to the next level. Third step we have taken into the engine for transformation. That's one. Fourth one is again people you have taken. Probably the next one is a suggestion actually. The suggestions are very easy. Somebody else to do it. So I will just share my view. Maybe since we know that all projects have its own inherent difficulties, inherent gaps, whether you can consider this as next year's target, just only to identify what sort of gaps are, other than people, processes and tools, what else can come out at the gaps, and how are we going to address those things to take the next level of success. Yeah? Maybe we are left with only 10 seconds, please. If you don't have any question, those who are question hungry, please ask. Stomach hungry, please proceed. I think. Yeah. This is the best we can think of. We shared our views. If anyone wants to ask a question, it's fine. Otherwise, pass on to Karthik, please.